Well, I'm Tyler Harlington. I'm from Moxee originally. It's where I was born and raised. I grew up on my grandfather's farm that he established, I guess almost 100 years ago, now that I think about it. Well, in high school, I was a typical normal high school kid. I was a three-sport athlete, and then during the summer I had a summer job. My summer job just consisted of farm work, and for me that was not what I wanted to be doing. But as a 16 and 17-year-old, I didn't enjoy driving on the tractor, and it's almost like I didn't have the attention span capable of doing that or something. I'm not sure. So as soon as I got accepted into college, I wanted to leave the farm life just kind of far behind me and go forth with heading into law and ultimately becoming a lawyer, potentially like a class action lawyer or some form of big city lawyer, and not ever come back to the family farm. And somewhere along those lines of my senior year, when I was touring different law schools, that I realized that the city was cramped and I felt like I couldn't breathe, and all I wanted was to go home and have that wide open space around me again. And I think that was the first time in my life too that I really took pleasure in driving a tractor and just being out in the orchards or walking vineyards, and the simple things of pulling weeds. And I loved it. And I knew then that I was destined for a career where I could just in my opinion, measure success by like an honest day's hard work. And that's something that as I continue to get older, it becomes more and more true that, the harder I work, the better really I feel about it. Well, when I went to school, and there was a point though before I wanted to be a lawyer when I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and it was in my first semester of my freshman year. And I remember my dad suggested horticulture and tree fruit just like he did, and it was, no way, I don't want to do that, Dad. That's not what I want to do. I'd never want to do that. But then he suggests the same thing to me 4 years afterwards, and it's like, well, how about you already know tree fruit really well, so what if I go learn like vines and viticulture and kind of study that? And that was about the time too that he introduced me to some of his friends that were grape growers, and it kind of went from there. Being in my senior year at WSU, having all of my prerequisites be for pre-law, going back 4 years to go from a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science to a Bachelor of Science in Viticulture and Enology is basically like enrolling in school again for 4 more years. So that journey took me to Walla Walla, and I decided that I wanted to go be where the vines were, because there's not really that many vines in Pullman. They have lots of wheat land, but not very many vineyards, about half an acre actually. Just from there on, I hit the ground running. I got a tasting room job. I was able to kind of work my way up from the tasting room into the winery, and as soon as I got into the winery and the vineyard side of it, schooling became really important for me, and I could tell that what I was studying suddenly felt like it had real practical application. And viticulture and enology, that was what I was going to do. Just went and started working in the wine industry, and now I've got to the point where I'd like to go back to school, and I'd like to learn, just dig a little bit deeper, more than what I initially got out of my 2-year degree. And so now I've kind of have a goal to get my Bachelor of Science. So I'll have a Bachelor of Science and a Bachelor of Arts, and potentially I might go on to get my master's degree and have my Master's of Science.